Okay. So welcome again if you're just joining us. This webinar is Skill Building for the Travel Industry with IATA, and this webinar is brought to you by Baxter Media. I'm your host, Zephan McMillan, Virtual Events Coordinator at Baxter Media, and today is Tuesday, September 12th. This is our first webinar of the fall, so welcome back everyone, and I hope you had a great summer and got some rest. If this is your first webinar with us, thanks for joining in. We're so glad you're here. Our presenter today is Himja Nanaviti from IATA. Himja has been leading the travel and tourism training portfolio at IATA since 2019. She is an expert learning and development professional with an extensive career in learning design and skills and competency framework design. And she's going to be talking to us today for the full hour. So we're so glad you're here, Himja. Himja is going to be answering your questions at the end of the webinar, so feel free to type them into the Q&A section of the public chat box. You'll see that on the right-hand side of your screen. It should say Q&A up at the top, and you can select that box and submit your questions. Remember, this is a live session, so again, your patience is appreciated during any technical difficulties that may arise. We're going to plow through here, and hopefully the Wi-Fi will keep going, and we'll make it to the end. So thanks again, everyone. Those who attend for the full duration of the webinar will be able to receive a promo code for a 20% discount on selected IATA courses. So stay with us till the end, and Himja will announce the prize details and which courses they apply for and stuff at the end of the webinar. And then in the follow-up email that has the recording link and everything like that from the webinar, we'll include your promo code so that you have it there and it's ready to go. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Himja, and she is going to take it away. And we're just glad that everyone's here. So thank you. And thank you, Himja. Go ahead.
Thank you, Zephan, for this great introduction. And hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. And I see that there are a lot of you joining from Canada. So that's really great. I'm also based in Montreal, and I really am excited to be here. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that the Wi-Fi doesn't act up and we have a smooth interaction today. So like Zephan said, I've extensive background in learning and development, and I took over the travel and tourism portfolio in 2019. And it was to adapt the portfolio to emerging learning needs and to ensure that our courses stay relevant and continue to address the demand from the new learners, the Gen Z and the millennials, and we continue to adapt. So, and this last 4 years has nothing been short of an exciting journey, an adventure into learning about travel industry. And as if on cue, just the time when I joined, the pandemic started and everything went on in an upheaval. And that allowed me to really understand how the crucial role that travel industry plays in labor, employment, and also the GDP, and how the skills shortage affects everybody. So on that note, let's start on what I have to present here. So in today's webinar, what we will address is that what's happening currently, what do we anticipate to happen in future. It's not a long-term forecast, but more of in the next 2-3 years, how do we expect travel industry to shape up? Now, what is IATA skills framework and how it can help travel industry with the skill building, and our recently launched career-focused courses. And then we will have some Q&A session at the end. So I look forward to receiving your questions and be able to answer them. So let's look at what's happening right now. So the mood in the travel industry is hope, but as well as apprehension, excitement, and also anxiety. And the reason for that is that the global travel kind of surpassed everyone's expectation. In 2022, when the war started, and around the same time, there were talks of inflation and supply chain disruption, and everyone on their agenda was that as much as travelers want to travel, the numbers will not look so good. It's going to take time for recovery because of all of these factors. But the international arrival and all other indicators show that the recovery is much, much faster than what anyone anticipated. So international arrival is already at 80% of 2019 level. And this is just, we are talking about tourists crossing borders. But if you just look at the global travel, including the domestic, it's already gone beyond 2019 level. And this is largely, largely inspired by the domestic travel. And the revenue, and so the skipped survey, it shows that the revenue is going to be for 854 million for 2023. And US alone contributed to $12 billion of revenue for the travel. And another exciting news for the travel advisors is that the more people are now using travel advisors, including Gen Z. So what happened during the pandemic kind of highlighted the role that travel advisors play when it comes to dealing with emergencies, when it providing a long-term support to the customers. So even Gen Z, they said that the number of people booking their travel directly themselves, it reduced to 56% from 67% earlier, and 69% of Gen Z audience said that they would book a travel advisor if they were going on a longer trip, or they wanted to book specialized vacations like cruise or sustainable travel, that they are going to look for a travel advisor to plan their vacation, which is, of course, a great news for travel advisors. And with that, I said, this is the excitement and hopeful part about the travel recovery, but it also comes with the challenges, and we all know very well what that is, which is the staff shortage. And so in 2022, there were about before the pandemic, according to the WTTC indicators survey and the data, in 2019, when pandemic started, there were about 334 million people employed in travel industry. And when in 2020, when airlines started shutting down, when the travel was banned and everyone was advised to stay home, overnight, over the year, around 320 million people lost their jobs. And by the end of 2022, 295 million people got back to their 295 million people were re-employed, but not all of these people were people who had the jobs in travel industry earlier. These are probably new entrants or people who retired, but then they realized that they cannot support themselves with their retirement income and are looking for part-time income, and students who are looking for a part-time job to support rising costs. So we're still struggling with the full-time jobs. And so far, 44 million jobs are still open and they need to be filled. And in the US alone, 290,000 jobs are still unfilled. And this is the forecast by the US Labor Department. But also the US Travel Association, they are forecasting much higher number. They are saying that it's going to be around 1.5 million jobs in the next this year plus in 2024 that will need to be filled if we want to address the customer demand adequately. So this is a big challenge because it means that the employers in the travel industry, they need to attract new people, they need to retain them, they need to provide them training or onboarding, or at least some sort of a skill support to get them job ready. So what is the challenge in attracting and retaining new people? So let's talk about the perception of the jobs in travel industry. So before the pandemic, there was already a perception about jobs in travel industry that this is high demanding, this is unpredictable, long working hours, does not pay as much, and we are at the mercy of customers' whims and fancies. So this was already there. And in 2020, the first people who started to lose their job were people in travel industry. You know, the airlines were grounded, airports were shut, travel agents were busy canceling trips, hotels were shut down. And so this also then added the concern that the jobs in the industry is unpredictable, as well as it's not safe. You cannot anticipate how your job will shape tomorrow if something were to go wrong. As much as it is applicable to any job, we all agree that people in travel industry are at the forefront of some of the risks and challenges that comes with natural disasters and any kind of international border tension. So these preconception, these notions about the jobs in travel industry has affected the number at which new entrants are coming. So people who were employed in travel industry, for example, and who lost their job, they are so if they lost their job, not all of them came back. You know, some of them shaped their career outside of travel industry and do not want to come back. And so the people who are entering travel industry are people who most likely do not have experience in the travel industry, and therefore they are looking for support in terms of developing their skills. And this poses a challenge for the employers because in travel industry, traditionally, the skills development is more organic and on the job. So if there is an experienced colleague, he or she will show the ropes to the new person joining the team, and they will shadow. And then in 6 or 8 months, the new person will be able to handle the job themselves. As much as this model works, it currently is limited because we do not have a similar number of people who are experienced and people who have the length and breadth of experience working with the travel industry. And so where do the new people go to learn? And so all of that burden now falls on the employers. And if you are a workforce manager, then you must know this challenge even better, how difficult it is to articulate the skills and get them job ready as quickly as possible. Another aspect that compounds this problem is the absence of a skills framework. So many countries have skills framework. Some labor departments have skills framework, but it's not comprehensive, or it's not something that travel employers can take and identify the skills required for their employees. And that's how the problem even gets more complicated, because not only you need to upskill or you need to onboard someone as quickly as possible, you also have to identify what are the skills that they should readily have. That is most essential for them to be successful on the job. So WTTC have certain recommendation on what are the jobs, how do you attract and retain new talent. And of course, some of them are not in the control of travel employers. Like, for example, labor mobility. We cannot influence how countries award visas for temporary job workers, but certain things are in our control. So, for example, flexible and remote work arrangement, and then again, developing and supporting skilled workforce, to support the skill building of the workforce. And this point is at the top of the agenda for new people who are entering the workforce. So according to many surveys, people who are entering new in the industry, they want to be able to identify the skills that they are going to learn, how they are going to grow these skills, so that they can retain their employability even if something were to go wrong, and they can easily transfer these skills to other jobs. So top of their agenda is being able to learn new skills. And then the second part of that, second priority for them is flexible work arrangement. So skill building is not just important from employer's perspective, but it's also important from the perspective of from employees and for people who we want to attract and retain. So in 2021, when when the forecast of this job shortage came out, we anticipated some of this challenge. And so I undertook a comprehensive skill building framework for travel industry. And so I analyzed 12 job functions that are most common in the travel industry. For example, ticketing agent, travel advisor, reservation desk management, client account management, tour manager, event planner, sales or marketing professional in travel industry. So these are some of the common job functions. And we looked at 42 skills that are aligned to these job functions. And so these 42 skills that came from the some of the skills framework that some labor departments have, from also in the job postings when jobs are listed, they identify the skills required for the incumbent. So compilation of all of these directed me to 42 skills. And then I conducted a survey with the travel advisor and travel industry stakeholders. There were about 800 respondents to validate whether these assumptions, the 42 skills for these 12 job functions, are they valid, not valid? And once we got that validation, we had interviews with some of the key employers around the world to make sure that our validation is not limited to certain geography or certain income groups, but it reflects a global perspective. And so this framework that we came up with, it's useful not only for the employers in the travel industry, but it even helps labor departments and tourism boards and travel agent association to understand how they can ramp up their skill building initiative. And so based on this, for example, for travel advisor job function, these are the 12 essential skills. For different job functions, there are other skills, but for travel advisor, these are the 12 essential skills. So communication, ability to plan communication, and then understanding customer requirement, being able to build itinerary, knowing the travel document requirements. So these are the essential skills that someone who's someone who's not in the industry, for them to get hired, these are the important skills. And then two, if they are hired, and then if they want to be customer ready, then these are the skills that are required. So when you the hierarchy of this from most critical to less critical may be different for different organizations based on what you do. But overall, the skills required to handle your customers effectively, to suggest and build an itinerary for them that meets their demand, and also to make sure that they have all the travel documents in place so that there are no last minute tension with the last minute apprehensions. These are the important competencies that they must have. And so now let's look at how does IATA courses how do IATA courses help with the skill building? So when we looked at the skills, and we also looked at our courses, and we did an adequate comprehensive mapping of our course content against these skills. And what we found was not a surprise to us. So our courses cover, initially when I said about 42 skills, our courses cover 37 of these skills adequately. What is not covered through our course are the emerging technology, for example, AI and data analytics. So these are some of the skills that are not covered, but over the period of maybe next couple of years, we would plan new courses so that we can address these skills adequately. And over the couple of, I would say over a decade now, about hundreds of thousands of people have taken IATA courses, and not only the courses have helped them gain their professional certification recognized internationally, but it has also helped them launch the career. Some of the employers that we interviewed, they said, I'm here because I did IATA Foundation in Travel and Tourism. So we were not surprised to know that how much the length and breadth of coverage our courses provide to the skills that are required to be successful in travel industry. Apart from this, even leading employers, so for example, American Express or Thomas Cook, they recognize the value of IATA Foundation in Travel and Tourism, because they have said that when they have somebody from who has this certificate, they find it much easier to onboard and upskill these people. And we will look at later why this is so in the next slide. But the way our courses are designed, they are designed in a progressive learning. So you start with very basic, and then you gain advanced knowledge, and you progressively build your skill. But at the same time, they are interactive, and the activities and the hands-on practices that are included in the course, it allows someone to test their knowledge, to practice what they've learned adequately, so that when they go for a job, they know what is expected and they are ready to deliver. So feedback from the employers when we interviewed some of these employers was that the reason why they value IATA certificate is because they find that these graduates, there is a remarkable difference, according to one employer, there is a remarkable difference between someone who has IATA certificate versus someone who doesn't. They find that these people, graduates with IATA certificate, are job ready from day one. So they know, for example, they know the features of GDS. They can start entering and quoting itinerary right from day one. Whereas someone who does not have IATA certificate, they require a longer onboarding and longer hand-holding to be job ready. What they learn from the course is not just theoretical concept, but also practical knowledge. So like GDS, I already mentioned, but also thematic, interpreting railways and flight schedules, being able to use a map. I was surprised when I was interviewing the employers that sometimes people do not even know where some of the cities are on the map. So when they have to build itinerary, they find it, they don't understand the amount of travel time required to reach the place B from place A. And so our courses, they cover adequately the geographies, the map, the 3-letter codes, airport codes, city codes, and there is enough practice inbuilt so that when you complete the course, you are competent enough to build an itinerary, quote, and also being able to interpret the fares and quote the most economical fare to your client, to be able to explain the fare conditions to your customers, what is allowed, what is not allowed, baggage, changes, cancellation, upselling, infant fares. All of these are explained in a way that that is easy to understand. So we also adapted our content to make sure that it's aligned with the way where the industry has moved. So we no longer teach, the manual fare calculation, but more from interpreting the ticket. So when you see a ticket that's been displayed by the system, do you know what are the fare construction rules applied in this? Can you interpret them? Can you quote the conditions correctly to your customers? So the focus of what we teach has also changed. And so because of these reasons, employers prefer IATA graduates versus over people who probably are entering new without any prior knowledge. Coupled with that, in addition to our existing diplomas, we also launched career-focused diplomas. So we launched 3 diplomas: travel operations diploma, 2 production diploma, MICE, and sales diploma. Now, why these diplomas? Because we recognize that to build skills progressively and to target a job function, it requires time, which people don't have. And so how do you then provide job-focused content and job-focused skill that will allow someone to master the required knowledge and competency for that job function in a short time? And so we identified content that just addresses the skills required by a specific job function, and that's how we cut the time from let's say 700 or 800 hours to 200 hours. It is still long, but it's not you don't need to invest 2 or 3 years of your time to get to this job specific competency required to succeed. So and like I was saying, that you build skills progressively. So you start with a basic function, and then you slowly and gradually you learn in-depth subject of each of these competency. So for example, for skills in journey pricing and ticketing. So you start with basic, what are the traffic conference areas, what are the global indicators, and then you progressively build skill to a point where you understand and you can exchange or reissue a ticket. So that's a complete length and breadth of being able to issue a ticket, and not only issue a ticket, but even exchange or reissue when it's possible. So this is how the skill is developed for each of these job functions. And these are the 3 new diplomas that we launched. It addresses the listed job functions here. So I would just give you a moment to read, but it's for travel operations diploma is specifically targeted for people interested in gaining employment in areas where you are more in charge of reservation, ticketing. You want to be customer account manager. You want to coordinate with the operations. So these are more mainly targeted towards people in operational capacity. And then tour production is directed at people who are really interested in building tours for customers, being a tour manager, being a tour operations manager, being a tour planner. So the requirement for tour production, it's very different. What you need to understand is the modes of transport, accommodation. You need to have an in-depth knowledge of different destinations, cultural and historical perspective of these destinations. What is the key selling point of certain destinations? And how do you then, how do you serve groups of people? So not just an individual customer, but a group who wants to travel together to a destination for a specific occasion. How do you address that? How do you address luxury travel? So these are the aspects that are covered in tour production. And then MICE and sales we teach extensively about event planning. So we even give checklists, we give questionnaires that you can use when you go to a site to identify whether that site is appropriate for the event you're planning to organize or not. So there is a questionnaire that you can fill up to say different segments of the site that you can identify, and you can fill up and use that questionnaire to make a judgment whether the site is okay or not. And then there are checklists. A month before the event, a week before the event, a day before the event, what are the aspects that you must have ready so that the event goes without any interruption. So these are the 3 new diplomas that we have launched, and we do get feedback that they are they do address the job functions adequately. So these are the new courses when it comes to people in the industry desiring to get new skills and get hired and then be successful. So one aspect of the skills framework was the skills essential for someone to get hired in a job. But the other part of the skills framework and also the diplomas is also for continuous learning. So if somebody is already in the industry, how do you continue to be successful in your job? How do you build expertise? So and then advance in your career. So these are also these aspects are also addressed by the career-focused diplomas. And lastly, I want to leave you with a new course that we have just launched, and it's about it's targeted at people working for destination management organization, and we recognize that tourism has undergone a massive shift post-pandemic also, because now there is a revenge travel, and historically people would go after, by reading a guide like Lonely Planet or a show, but now social media influences a lot of these travel decisions, and we constantly hear about some of the destinations that are overrun with tourists, and it brings its own challenges and makes the destination non-sustainable. And so as a destination management organization, how do you make sure that your destination attract right kind of tourists? If you already have a tourism problem, if you don't, and your challenge is to make your destination attractive, then what are the practices you can employ? So this course is going to be launched. We are launching a pilot on 18th to 20th October, and then 23rd to 25th October in Madrid. And if you register by 15th of September, then you get 50% discount. So the topics that we cover in this course, it's built with industry experts. So it's there are already successful destination marketing successful destination marketing professionals who have contributed in building this course. We have a recording with the interviews with experts. We have checklists, we have questionnaires, we have data reports about destinations, that tells you arrival per country and from different customer segments. And this is to build an activity where you can practice hands-on skills on analyzing data for customer segment and identify what is the right marketing spend for your organization to attract the right kind of tourists. So this is the new course, and I invite you to check it out on our website and spread the word. And if you find this is relevant for you, please register. So this was the last slide of my presentation. And now we open the floor for further questioning.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Hinda. Really appreciate your presentation. That was excellent. So, folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them to the Q&A section of the public chat there, and we're going to answer them now. So we'll just spend a couple of minutes here and just answer questions. So I see there are a couple of questions here, but we could definitely take a few more if needed. So this is kind of there are three parts to this question. And so for part one is, I would like to receive your take on my career development. My training is in aeronautical information management, but my work experience is in ground handling. What recommendations would you give me for my career development? And maybe I'll preface this by saying, feel free to answer, as you can, Himja, and I'll ask part 2 and 3 after you're done there.
Okay. So, so if you are in aeronautical and your experience is in ground handling, it depends on what career objective you want to achieve. So I think part 2 is that I'm becoming an LPR in the US. Let me read all the 3 parts so that I can answer your question comprehensively. Okay. So it's not from the question. So just for everyone's benefit, the person is interested in background is in ground handling, and the training is in aeronautical information, and they are coming to the US. And so how do you upskill and meet a US market requirement? And then the next part of the question is, what materials do you recommend to start the career in air travel industry? So we do have, IATA has ground handling operations courses. We have courses for people in airline management and also other aspects of airline industry. And please feel free to check out some of these courses. We do have distance learning as well as in-person classrooms. And they do cover different geographies adequately. So, by reading you can download the content outline of these courses that will tell you whether these, the topics meet your objective of settling in a new country, and whether it meets a requirement for the US or not. So by all means, check out the IATA website. Yeah.
Okay, great. So next question, what would you suggest the first item to do once I have finished a course?
You mean IATA? After you finish the IATA course, the first thing that you can do is apply for a job at many of these leading companies, like Hopper, for example. You can apply. So once you have finished the course, the the world is your oyster. It opens up doors for career, a very rewarding career in travel industry. So while you are doing the course, by all means, keep an eye out for the possible job options at the different travel employers. So I'm not sure where you are from, but if you are from Canada, then we have some of the great travel employers like Hopper. We have presence of Expedia. So some of these, you can feel free to apply to job postings from this, as well as some of the other travel industry employers.
Okay, great. So next question, maybe I'll let you read that, but can you repeat the contact for leading practices in Madrid?
Yeah, you can write to me. Yes, that's me, nanavati@iata.org. Yes, please.
Okay, great. So that email is correct.
Yes.
And great. So why don't we, I don't see any other questions here yet. Let me just check the Q&A section. So if anyone does have any final questions, feel free to ask them. I think I see one just coming through now. Okay, there's more coming through now, so that's good. Feel free to keep them coming, folks. We do have a couple minutes here, so keep the questions coming. And then maybe once we're done answering these questions, Himja will pause, cover the prize details, and then if there are any more questions, we can kind of cover them before we wrap up. So for someone who wants to enter the travel industry as a travel consultant, do they have to go to school, or can they just take the IATA courses and get the certification of the OPC, for example, here in Quebec, and then they can apply for a job?
So,
can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So IATA certificate is a professional certificate. However, certain provinces will have their own requirement. So for example, Ontario, for example, they do have their own test that you have to pass. Similarly, there would be a test for Quebec. So check out the skills, check out the criteria for provincial recognition of your skills. Having IATA certificate would allow you to, match this requirement very easily. So if you have to pass a test, if you have to prepare for certain interview, or the IATA, what you would have gone in IATA course would help you achieve all of this. So yeah, I think you will need to check out the provincial criteria to become a certified agent for Quebec. And but IATA course will certainly help with meeting the requirement.
Okay, great. And next question, could you please go deeper into the consulting recommendations? Anything more to say on that, Himja? Feel free to, and then we'll cover the prize details.
Yeah, I'm not sure what is meant by consulting recommendation, but if you are asking about becoming a travel consultant, then there are, I can recommend courses, for example, travel operations diploma would prepare you for a career as a travel consultant, because it covers not only the basic aspects about the operations, but also about how to sell travel, how to manage accounts, how to advise customers. And so it covers a broad aspects about travel industry, including some of the advanced subjects like accounting and finance. A lot of time people don't know as a travel agent how to calculate commission. You may think that as a travel advisor, my job is to, build an itinerary, but no, you are also responsible for profit and loss. And how do you calculate, how do you keep your balance sheet? How do you interpret a balance sheet, for example? If it's given to you, do you know what is your revenue? Do you know what is your cost? What is a profit? From this basic aspect to how do you maintain your accounts and your books in order, and also then how do you calculate your commission to stay profitable. So these are the skills that are essential, and doing a travel operations diploma will help with becoming a travel consultant.
Okay, great. So why don't we go ahead and cover the prize details, and then we'll wrap up here.
Okay. So what we will provide. Oh, thank you, Ahmed. I'm happy that my answer was satisfying for you. As the price for attending the webinar, I think Zefan will send out a promo code that will allow you to purchase 6 of our top-selling diploma at 20% discount. So the career-focused diplomas that I talked about, that and along with our other 3 everlasting diplomas, you can purchase them at 20% discount.
Okay, great. And yes, that will be sent to you all in the follow-up email, which will be within about 24 hours of the webinar end. You'll receive that as well as the recording link from today. Okay, great. Well, a huge thank you to Himja for today's presentation. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the whole team at IATA for bringing us this great webinar. So thank you, Himja. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Zefan, for being an excellent partner in this. And it was really exciting for me to be here. And thank you, everyone who joined.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And so as the webinar ends, you will be redirected to the IATA website where you can access more information from them on their courses. We'll be sending the webinar recording link from today to each of you within about 24 hours. Once it's been processed, all of our past webinar recordings can be found on our Baxter Media YouTube channel or at travelpress.com under the Travel Webcast tab. This webinar recording will be there, but you'll receive it in an email as well from me tomorrow, as well as your promo code. Next week, on Thursday, September 21st, we'll be launching a new live webinar Q&A series called AI Insights, Conversations with the Experts. Our executive editor, Bob Mowat, will be meeting with Caroline Bremner from Euromonitor International to ask questions about how artificial intelligence is going to change the travel industry. So be sure to check that out. It's a 30-minute webinar on Thursday, September 21st. So you can register by clicking the link at the top of your chat box there, and you can access it there. A reminder to subscribe to all of Baxter Media's publications. You can do that on travelpress.com as well. And we're just so appreciative that IATA was able to come here and bring us this webinar today. So thank you again. And thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. We'd love to see you again next time. So stay tuned for more webinars as they come through this fall. Thanks, everyone.